Wow, I have just received some very heartbreaking news for myself. For those of you who don't know and are new to the channel, I am a massive Cavs fan, and look, I never really try and be biased or one-eyed in any of my videos. For example, I have people commenting that I am, sometimes a Knicks fan, a Heat fan, all this type of stuff. Of course, I try to keep, my pretty much best opinion, make everything equal for all NBA teams to talk about. But for this latest news, I am pretty saddened to say that Tristan Thompson has officially signed with the Boston Celtics. This is all being reported by Chris Haynes. There's a lot of different rumors on what his kind of contract is looking like. I believe it is currently almost being confirmed that it is a 2-year, $19 million contract. Now, of course, I say this in kind of, I don't exactly know for sure. That's what a lot of people are saying right now. That seems to be the confirmed number. But of course, things can change. We saw, a couple of days ago or whatever, or recently, Christian Wood did sign for what was believed to be, I think, $27 million across 3 seasons, 3 years. That recently got confirmed to $41 million, I believe, a couple hours after that. It was kind of said that he signed on $27 million. So again, I do believe Thompson has signed on $19 million for 2 seasons with the Boston Celtics. And even though I'm absolutely saddened by this, because Tristan Thompson was one of my favorite players on the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think Boston Celtics fans should definitely be very happy knowing that they have just signed their man. This was the guy they needed to target. I have been saying this for so long. If the Boston Celtics got Tristan Thompson and actually improved their bench, they should definitely be one of the favorites to win the championship next season. I mean, they already did pretty well, where I believe they got to the conference finals against the Heat, and they had, Jason Tatum balling out. They had Gordon Hayward was doing okay. Kemba Walker was doing pretty decent. But he had a leg injury, I do believe. Jaylen Brown was playing really good, and Daniel Tice was playing pretty good as well, with Marcus Smart off the bench. But I genuinely believe for them to improve, they need to move on from Hayward, and bring in an actual center / power forward. Of course, Hayward's on around $30 million, so they do have about $30 million to spend. Of course, the Celtics did actually go and do that with Gordon Hayward recently just being confirmed. He is going to go sign with the Charlotte Hornets. So, of course, that is a very good move for the Celtics not to really care about bringing him back. Him declining his player option was the greatest thing that could have happened to the Celtics, because now they've actually gone out and they drafted Aaron Naismith, I believe. He was one of the players, a player that I feel like they desperately needed to improve their bench. I believe he is a shooting guard / small forward, who I think was like 52% from 3 in college, or some ridiculous number. I believe he had the best 3-point percentage in the draft, obviously. I think it was about 52%. Bringing in a player like him, who's not the age of, 18 or 19 or whatever. I believe he's a little bit older. I think he's about 20. Those more experienced college players to come off the bench. That is what the Celtics needed to do with their picks. And again, with losing Gordon Hayward, I believe, the best thing next to do was get rid of Enes Kanter, who was on about $5 million. They've done that, I believe. And then bring in an actual center in Tristan Thompson, who they've just got. Thompson is one of those guys that, look, he can get beaten defensively when he is playing on a much taller center. But if he's playing on a guy that's, maybe 5 or so centimeters taller than him or whatever, which most centers tend to be in the league, again, he is 6'9". He can definitely hold his own against 6'10", 6'11" players. He's great defensively against them. But when it gets to the 7-foot type of players, etc., that's where I have my worries with Tristan Thompson. Not just that, people don't understand that Tristan Thompson is actually a very underrated defender, though. Because he played on the Cleveland Cavaliers, where the second best defender in the starting 5 was Jetty Osman, who's only got somewhat of relatively decent defense on the perimeter. It kind of looked like Thompson wasn't exactly that great defensively, because he was on such a bad defensive team and that they got scored upon so much. But if you put Thompson out in a team that is pretty good defensively with Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum and Daniel Tice, this guy, he's going to shock a lot of people, I believe. He is, again, a very underrated defender and still manages to put up about 12 points per game. Now, again, I talked about the players that they bring in to improve their bench. Naismith, again, he is 21 years of age, 198 centimeters. So I believe that's about 6'6". Now I think they need to go sign some veteran players to come off that bench. I don't know who they could potentially go out and get. I kind of thought, a good idea would have actually been to maybe even bring in Rajon Rondo, but he's just signed with the Hawks now. I feel like now, let's look at their bench real quick. I do feel like, I honestly believe Marcus Smart, let's just say they don't get a new power forward, then I assume Marcus Smart will start next season. They'll roll out Kemba Walker at point guard, Smart at shooting guard, Brown at small forward, Tatum at power forward, and, Tristan Thompson at center. Then off the bench, it kind of gets a little bit worrisome for me. They'll have Tice to come off the bench. But then they've only got, Romeo Langford. Now Naismith will come off the bench, etc. I think bringing in a backup forward who's like a veteran would be a very, very good thing for them to potentially do. And I believe they'll have, maybe about 20 million cap to go out and spend now that they don't have Hayward. I'm sure they'll bring in some players here and there as well. And again, Tristan Thompson might have just been the first player out of them that they have possibly gone and brought in. They still need to find a point guard. Again, I believe their point guard that was coming off the bench last season was out of contract. Don't know if they're going to bring him back. I believe, again, going out and getting another point guard will be cool. I have a feeling, a point guard that I think would be pretty interesting is actually, Matthew Dellavedova. I've spoken very high on Matthew Dellavedova for so long now, and I feel like now that Tristan Thompson has actually gone to Boston, maybe, trying to get a player like Dellavedova could be an interesting thing. Of course, Delly's a great playmaker, great leader, and great defender, coming off the bench for maybe 15 to 20 minutes per night or so. So again, he would be a pretty interesting player. But again, I'm not just saying him specifically. I'm more so saying players like him, they should actually go out and target. But again, just filling out that 10th to 15th man on the roster is what they need to do. Because I do expect Romeo Langford, who'll be around 20 to 21, I believe, next season. I do expect him to take that next step. Naismith, again, being 21. Again, he's that perfect age for a young, kind of more experienced recruit, or rookie rather, to come in. But yeah, they still do need to bring in the veteran players. Off the top of my head, I can't really think of anyone else who they could potentially bring in. Starting power forward as well might be the ideal situation for them. But again, it's all very hard to say what players they could potentially bring in. But what I'm trying to say is here, Tristan Thompson is the first step. Well, yeah, pretty much the first step was getting rid of Gordon Hayward, but the first step on signing a player had to be a center. And I feel like Tristan Thompson is the perfect type of center for them to, of course, pretty much actually go and sign now. So, again, great move by the Boston Celtics. They've just got to improve that bench. And with the recent, departure of Gordon Hayward, who left and he took his $30 million contract with him, again, they've got Thompson on the $10 million now. I believe they'll obviously have the $20 million that they'll be willing to spend. I definitely would, if you guys are a Celtics fan or just NBA fan in general, I would 100% be watching this space, because I have a feeling that the Celtics are going to go and target some players now. And that doesn't even mean they just have to sign them. There will be players available for trade that they could go out and get. They have bulk first round picks now for the next couple of years. And after they've had a couple of recent successful drafts, bringing in these players like Romeo Langford and Naismith to kind of fulfill their roster, I feel like they don't really need to go to the draft anymore, hit the draft anymore. So that's where I feel like now as well, not only can they sign these players, whether they're veterans or not, but they could also potentially go ahead and maybe trade for these players here and there. But of course, I would really like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this down below. Do you guys think it was a good idea for the Boston Celtics to sign Tristan Thompson? Do you guys think it was a bad idea? Again, I'd definitely really like to know all of your thoughts and opinions on this down below. Who should the Boston Celtics go and sign next? Of course, I would definitely really like to know down below. But of course, don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel, MIRO/Long channels, and don't forget to check out, again, my podcast as well. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for all the latest sports-related content. And of course, thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.